and welcome to the 102nd episode of Recluse Horror. This is a bi-weekly horror movie review podcast. With me again today is Sam.
Hey.
So, Sam, it's fucking hot.
Yeah? Yeah?
He was complaining so much for the last 10 minutes. I thought I'd give him like an avenue for that.
Oh, no.
Yeah? You're too cool to complain on the podcast?
Yeah, I want everybody to think I'm cool.
Yeah, alright.
I don't have any heat receptors.
Yeah.
So I don't even know.
And
I wouldn't even know. Haven't thought about myself in years.
In the words of Daisy Buchanan, you always look so cool.
I don't know what Daisy Buchanan is, but...
Daisy Buchanan. It's from Great Gatsby. Look it up. It's an important line.
Never heard of it.
It's an important line. Alright, so, we watched actually a couple of horror movies, this week, which is up, or not this week, but since the last podcast, which is up from our last, in-between period of none.
Yeah, been a minute.
It's been a minute. So, the two movies that we saw were Let Me In from 2010 and Quiet Place from 2018. I have not, and we have not, talked about Let the Right One In.
Right, on the podcast.
On the podcast, yeah. So we're going to have to talk about that one first.
Okay.
So, Let the Right One In is it's a Swedish film. It's one of the ones that I reviewed in text before I started the podcast. Sam watched it with me. Sam, how did you like Let the Right One In?
Oh, I really liked Let the Right One In.
It's fucking good, right?
Yeah, super good.
When I saw this, I thought it was probably my favorite movie in this particular subgenre. Time? Yeah, my favorite movie from this subgenre. Mm-hmm. Not favorite movie, but it was very, very good. So it tells the story of an often bullied boy named Oscar and his relationship to another mysterious person named Ellie. When Oscar meets his new neighbor, he is immediately fascinated with her, and their budding, pre-adolescent romance changes dramatically as he learns the girl's many secrets. That's just my shitty synopsis that I gave on this. I'm too tired to try to pretend I'm not reading off of my review here.
Do you pretend like you don't?
Not really. Usually I don't. So what did you think about this more in depth? What parts of this movie did you really like, and which parts of it,
I didn't know we were talking about this one.
So you didn't prepare?
So I didn't prepare in any way.
Okay.
But,
that's fair.
In general,
I didn't tell him.
In general, like, that movie's really good. It's the cinematography. Mm-hmm. I'm having a hard time talking about it without talking about the remake.
Yeah.
Which is
what Let Me In is.
Yeah, so I'll be a little bit, like, briefer than I probably will be. Mm-hmm. It just shot really well, acted really well. Mm-hmm. The feeling of it feels really, like, real and urgent in its ways. Everything about it is just done really well.
Yeah.
And the story in general is like, I want to say it's could be considered a little cliche.
I suppose.
But the way it's done isn't cliche at all.
Mm-mm. No.
So I obviously like that. Mm-hmm. I guess that's just like a short little... I could go into it more, but I feel like I'm going to end up doing that.
Right.
So I don't want to repeat myself.
So the thing that I first mentioned as well in this review was the cinematography, the review that I wrote in text.
So good.
Yeah, it is incredible. Every shot is perfectly framed, and honestly, many of them, like, if you take the stills, you could put it in a fucking gallery, just about. The lighting is very soft and neutral, and it plays very well into the realism and the winter aesthetic of the movie, which is actually excellent. The winter aesthetic, like, even if you're not a winter person, you can see, like, how perfect it is. It's the best version of the winter aesthetic that I can think of offhand. I'm sure there's movies that do it better, probably in theory, but I did really appreciate that. The color palette of the costumes is mostly muted, with a few, bold notes in places, I suppose. And the palette of the movie is mostly the same, with lots of stark white to draw focus to the characters without cheapening it out on, like, set dressing. The effects are mostly very good, with the exception of one really poor piece of CGI that I noted in my review. I think I remember what it is. Do you remember that particular? Okay. I think I remember what it is, but I'm not sure if this...
It's been a while.
Yeah.
I briefly watched some of it after we watched the remake.
Yeah.
But I didn't watch the whole thing. I got sidetracked.
From when I looked this up, like during the text reviews, sometimes I'll, especially if I really like something, I'll look a lot more in depth into the movie. And one of the things that I found out is that the movie actually uses around 50 shots that contain CGI. And I really only noticed a handful of them. So either I was too focused on the story to notice that, or it was mostly well done, the CG. I honestly couldn't say which one was the case because I have no recollection of anything CG in that movie.
I don't either, actually.
Yeah. The acting is really incredible from both of the leads, I think. With the normal caveat for foreign films, that I place out there, which is that I'm not really familiar with the Swedish language, and thus the line delivery maybe not as, perfect as it seems. The tonality and everything of what they're saying, really seems to match what's going on, at least, to my brain, but who the hell knows? It could sound crazy in Swedish, I don't know. The actors were both 11 years old, and they were playing 12 years old. In the movie, they're supposed to be 12, but they were actually 11. And casting them reportedly took a year to complete, as the filmmakers wanted to be sure that they got the absolute best for the film. And I really think they got that right. I think both roles were perfect. What did you think?
They play a very big part in whether the movie's good or not. It spends a lot of time with the two lead characters.
Yeah. Oscar really comes across as somewhat troubled and sensitive without seeming too emotional for the tone, honestly. And Ellie feels curious and mysterious without seeming to have any particular awareness of those traits. And thus she's not consciously trying to be mysterious despite her protectiveness about her secrets.
Mm-hmm.
Their relationship, at least in the beginning, is not terribly dissimilar to many movie romances that begin with someone meeting, their new neighbor by chance in a shared space. That meet cute, girl next door bullshit. But this slight commonality contrasts the path that their relationship in the movie itself takes, which is, I think that's kind of what you were trying to say about, how parts of it could be considered cliche, but the movie as a whole is definitely not that. I think this is my version. I'm, again, pretty much just reading from my review.
It's also a semi modern vampire story, which obviously there's been several of those, which
I was kind of tiptoeing around that and not
isn't it obvious? Doesn't everybody know it's a vampire movie?
I think anybody who's heard the title probably does, but I guess
it's only kind of that. I don't know. You can edit this or not.
Yeah,
it's up to you.
I'll leave a space just in case I decide to. Let's leave a space. There's a space. I think the space is funnier.
Wow, if you don't edit that, that's gonna be weird.
Yeah, I know. I think it's funny. They can't see me posing really funny and like.
Yeah, and it's not that funny, but I could pretend it was. You're hilarious.
I know, wasn't that funny? That little I stopped in mid motion, an emotion that nobody would ever make.
We should continue. We got 2 other movies to talk about.
I got 2 other movies to talk about. Yeah.
Let's just talk about the remake.
There's still more.
Oh.
So I have more information about the movie. Again, I looked a lot into this one.
There's actually a decent amount of information on the making of it, which is
always good.
And interesting that there is, because it's not a big movie.
I think it got I think it's one of those cult movies. I think if you're into foreign films or foreign horror films or vampire films or any variation upon those things, it's gonna be one of your favorites. Most people feel that. I think if you're a little too actiony or whatever, if you have a short attention span, this is probably not for you.
It's kind of a slower movie, actually.
It is slow and somber, and, not everybody would appreciate it. But most people who are into vampires can deal with a slow movie, or they're not going to be into vampires, so. So the script was adapted by the author of the novel upon which the movie is based. And I think, I always love when they do that. Rather than having some, jerk-off get paid to just rewrite somebody's script in a way that they think Hollywood will appreciate or movie audiences will appreciate. at least do it by the author, so the author has some say in it. I think the expertise really shows in the depth and subtlety of the characters and their unique dynamics with each other. Much of it is portrayed without the hindrance of dialogue. There's a lot of silence in this movie, which is kind of what we were getting at before. So a lot of the praise for this movie really should be heaped upon the director as well, and of course the actors. You can't get it's so hard to get stuff like that across, and we'll come back to that particular thing later on. I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on it here. There's more to this movie than the romance, obviously, and one element I particularly enjoyed is that the secret lives of children that parents never really get to see. I think they touch on that a lot in like child adventure movies. I don't think it necessarily gets played out in quite so realistic a manner as you kind of see this way. Obviously, there's parts of it that are totally unrealistic, but it's very good to emphasize that, and I feel like, well, we'll talk about that later. The characters meet and spend a lot of time with each other, but it's not really clear if Oscar's parents know about the girl, nor does he tell them about the daily bullying, that he's dealing with, regardless of how far it goes. It would probably seem strange to a lot of people that a 12-year-old could possibly have a life separate from their parents, but I think if you think back to being 12 years old, like, there was a bunch of shit that I did personally, that I did, and friends that I had that, like, my parents never met or heard about. Was that kind of your experience as a 12-year-old?
I barely spent any time with my parents when I was around that age.
True. There's some problems with the film as well, of course. There's really no such thing as a perfect movie, and I think it's silly to try to think otherwise. I had mentioned the scene with the noticeably bad CG. I don't really remember which one it was for sure, but I mention again because it really did feel out of place in such a really visually stunning film. The scene almost could have not been done without, this particular, the effect couldn't really have been achieved practically. Is a notation that I have here. So, I understand the choice there, but still. The movie is nearly 2 hours long and slow-paced at that, and even though it felt shorter to me, some people might find it overlong. I don't think that's terribly surprising. No, you thought it was fine. You thought it felt like 2 hours. I remember saying I felt like it was shorter, and you're like, no, it felt like pretty much 2 hours.
I'm pretty annoying about
that. The houses in which we spend the most time do not look terribly dissimilar, and in some cases, there was one point in the film where it caused me a couple of minutes of confusion thinking that they were in one place instead of another.
That actually happened in the other one to me, too.
Yeah, for whatever reason, I didn't have that. I think maybe because I saw this movie.
So you knew where they were supposed to be?
Yeah. But that's probably the only reason, because it does have the same kind of thing where it looks similar. I don't think they look quite as similar in the remake, but we'll get to that. This was exacerbated by the choice to make the transition between one house and the other without showing the characters leaving one house or entering the other. And a secondary character somehow knows where to find the leads at this point without seeming to have any way of discovering that. This is a rather crucial portion of the film, and though the answer ultimately doesn't matter, it still felt odd to me despite many other things that are left unsaid in this movie. Even with these flaws, it's leagues ahead of any other similar movie, and I'll definitely be rewatching this in the future. I said it back then, and I'm still saying it. It does seem like the type of movie that would get better with repeated viewings. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I probably would agree with it. I said, I started watching it the other day.
Yeah.
And the only reason I stopped is I just got sidetracked on something else and had to be pulled away. But I was enjoying watching the part, I watched maybe the first half hour or more. And then I just had to do something else.
Yeah. This one, Let the Right One In, is this on Netflix or Hulu or any of those?
It was on Hulu, I think.
It was one of the one good horror movies that's on Hulu. But it falls under one of the two categories. I've said it's either a part of long, cheesy series, or it's stuff that you already have heard of. And this is stuff that I think most people have heard of by this point. Even if they just heard the title and didn't really know what it was, I think most people have probably heard it. Especially since they made the American one. I would call this a recommend. Honestly, I don't know if I go out of my way to recommend anything, but if any of this sounds interesting to you, I think it's so well told and so well... I mean, you really feel kind of like you're rooting for the characters, and like it kind of put me in their headspace in a few places in ways that I didn't anticipate. Did you have anything else to add, or
no? Mainly because we're going to talk about the other one.
Yeah,
and it would be a direct comparison
to that. Yeah,
but yeah, I would recommend it to people. But it's it's foreign language. It's slow paced. So. Like, I would say that to them.
Yeah,
I'd be like, if that's interested, if you're interested in still watching it after I said that, watch it. But if not, then don't.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, if you can deal with slow-paced movies and you don't mind subtitles. But again, there's not really a ton of dialogue, so I don't think I think it's pretty digestible for people like that. As long as they're not like, why are they just staring at each other? God! Those sort of people.
Yeah, and that's not even really part of the movie, but yeah. It just lingers on a lot of stuff. It lingers on the setting a lot. Stuff like that.
Yeah. Yep. All right, well, that's our review of Let the Right One In from 2008. Okay, so now it's time to talk about Let Me In from 2010. It was a remake that was made, this is an American remake of it that was made 2 years later. Always a good sign.
I know, that's so weird.
Yeah, Sam pointed that out to me, actually. I didn't remember what year Let the Right One In came out, and I didn't know what year this one, Let Me In, came out when we saw it. Yeah, it was real close. Like I said, it was pretty popular in its genre, Let the Right One In was. So, okay. I guess I'm gonna just start with the title. What is wrong with them with the title?
You're like, why did they change the title?
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh, you're asking me, I don't know.
The title, Let the Right One In, from the Swedish film, is a perfect explanation of this story. In so many ways. It can be taken in a number of different ways. It has varying degrees
It's also
of
a little different from the original title, is what I understand, too.
Let the Right One In, I think, is different from the original. Like the
Swedish book, but I can't... It's not that different. It's also it's also just a little bit different than this one is.
Really?
I think
that's funny.
so. I think it's like a couple
letters. The translation of it is just
a few words different, or the phrasing's different. Something like that. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah.
But I just remember how there's, like, the titles are just so close, but not the same. Like, this one is Let Me In instead of Let the Right One In.
Yeah. So Let the Right One In is a good piece of advice. You know what I mean? If you think about it on the level that's really obvious, you're talking about, like, letting people into your heart. I think pretty much everybody has figured out that's probably, at least to a certain degree, what that title is supposed to mean. Let Me In is a demand.
Yeah.
Which I think is just not... It's not that story. Like, even this version of it, to me, doesn't quite fit that title. I think Let Me In fits this movie better than it does the Swedish movie.
For sure.
I still don't think that it's the right title. So the other thing that really bugged me about this movie, that was the first thing. Like, as soon as I heard that movie was titled that, I was like, ugh. But the second thing is, so this takes place in New Mexico?
Yeah. Everything I've ever looked up, I kept trying to look for...
Like what city it was?
A different anything that would say, yeah, it takes place in a part of New Mexico.
I'm not sure what part of it. I want to say they said Los Alamos, which I actually thought... I'm pretty sure is a town in Texas, but there could be a Los Alamos.
I'd seen it before. I don't remember anymore.
Los something. But anyway, it takes place in the American Southwest, in New Mexico. I'm sure it's New Mexico. Because I talked to a friend of mine from New Mexico, and she thought it was hilarious. So despite the fact that it takes place in New Mexico, the entire movie is still covered in snow. Why did they set it in New Mexico? They could have set it anywhere in the world. They could have set it in the original Sweden. They could have set it in, it's an American film. You could have set it in, any place that gets snow. Yeah. You could set it in anywhere in the north of the States. Anywhere else that gets snow that isn't in the north. Or a whole nother country or setting completely. Why would you pick, like, friggin' New Mexico? I don't know. I don't want to say that it's disheartening, but it's a bad sign from when they very first... It's like one of the first things that you see is it says the name of the town and what year it is. It takes place in the early to mid-80s.
The original one took place in 82. I don't know what year this one takes place, but I think...
In my head, I was
somewhere.
thinking 83, so probably around the same. It might be 82 also.
I don't know. I guess I didn't know.
Yeah. But
yeah,
so,
Los Alamos.
It is Los
Mexico,
Alamos?
yeah.
Okay, it is Los Alamos. Okay. I wasn't just, like, confusing a town in Texas with it. Okay, cool. Not cool. Stupid idea. They never really explain it, and it never has any significance that it, like, of why it has to be set in New Mexico. It could...
Yeah, there's nothing about it that needs to be...
They could have even said nowhere. They could have not said what town it was, and it wouldn't make a difference, and you wouldn't be like, gee, I wonder where this is taking place. Like...
I know, it's a really weird thing. I wonder if I'm missing something or don't understand something about it.
Maybe.
But it's, like, so baffling that I feel like I'm missing something.
Right.
It is how baffling it is. Like, maybe I didn't catch something.
Is it supposed to be symbolism for, like, this movie would only happen when hell froze over?
I don't have any idea is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, it's stupid. I don't know. As far as I can tell, it's stupid. Maybe there's a reason. Maybe there's something we didn't pick up on that like, makes it important that it's in New Mexico. But as far as we could tell, and I was paying attention to this from the moment they said that, because I'm like, bullshit, New Mexico. Yeah, I did not notice anything, and I, again, was paying attention to it, so... I'll move on from the New Mexico thing. So, the snow effects, many of them are very bad. They use the standard, like, they'll use soap, they'll use glitter. There's actually a point when somebody drops something onto the snow, when you can see the whole, like, they have one of those little pieces of, not little, but the, like, cloths made out of cotton or whatever that you would put under, like a Christmas tree. And that's covered in soap or whatever that looks more realistic, but you can see the whole thing bounce, and it looks so bad. And I don't know how that shot made it into the film, into the final cut of the film. Like, I noticed it bouncing. You didn't... Did I rewind that
no,
for you?
No, rewatched it. It looked like a trampoline.
Yeah.
Getting hit, opposed to, like, it hitting the ground or anything.
Yeah, hitting the ground, hitting snow. I mean, it was clear what it was. Like, it had a skirt. It was a skirt like one of those Christmas trees gets. I guess we should move on from, like, nitpicking what's probably small details in the grander scheme of things. But yeah, I don't know. The snow was handled very poorly a good deal of the time in this. Again, this could have been set anywhere. I'm sure it was filmed in New Mexico, probably. I know New Mexico, since Breaking Bad started, they've kind of...
They have a film industry.
Yeah, they've started to get that, so maybe that's why, but go to a place that has snow, or at least...
Don't make it
It doesn't have to be a snow aesthetic
Yeah, they don't have
either.
to be in the snow for any reason.
No, there is nothing in this movie that requires snow or New Mexico. And certainly not the two of them together. Anyway, let's move on. What did you think about the acting in this film?
It was okay.
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
I think Hit Girl
plays Ellie in this.
That has a real name.
What's her name in the movie?
It's Ellie, I'm pretty sure.
Is it Ellie also? Okay, because I know they change Oscar's name, don't they?
Yeah, it's Abby in this.
Oh, it's
and
Abby.
It's Owen.
Abby and Owen, that's right. Yep, Abby and Owen.
Yeah, Hit Girl. I don't think she's a bad actor. Mm-hmm. But I don't think she really played this role very well. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's just the complete comparison to the other movie that I have.
Right. That performance was so subtle.
Yeah, and she doesn't play it subtle. Mm-hmm. She plays it kind of somber, which is fine. Mm-hmm. But I just don't think it's as good. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I actually had. Mm-hmm. Also, they play 12-year-olds. Yeah, and she was 12 or 13 or whatever.
But she looks like she's 15.
She looks a million. Yeah, she looks so old in the movie.
We actually looked it up because we're like, gosh, I hate it when both of Sam and I have that pet peeve about when kids aren't playing kids in movies. Now I think having 11-year-olds play 12-year-olds works. She was 12 or 13 when this movie came out. So I assumed it was probably filmed when she was 12, but she looks so much older. Yeah. I thought she did a pretty decent job. I feel like most of the problem with the acting probably came down to directorial choices. And there's a number of reasons if you watch the movie why that might be.
Maybe.
Not all of it.
I just think she didn't fit right.
I don't think she fit at all.
I think it was probably coming off of another role, and they were like, "Oh, let's get her because like she's some kind of name." Yeah. And I just don't think she doesn't. I just think she doesn't fit the role that well. Like, I think she does fine. Yeah. I just don't think that she fits that character role as good as maybe somebody else could. True. Especially having a complete. Okay, so the original one is almost the same movie as the remake. I was going to get into that, almost didn't do anything different. Other than the setting. Except kind of make it not as good. Yeah. Because the remake's not bad. It's just not as good as the original one. And when you make it so close to the same, you only have that comparison to keep falling back on.
It's impossible not to compare the two. I think you're right. I think she was kind of miscast in this. I don't think that's any fault of her own. I think she did a pretty decent job. There's a lot of moments, not nearly as many as in the original, but there's plenty of moments of this where they're emoting and they're not speaking things out loud and stuff. And I think she does a surprisingly good job at that. I don't necessarily expect that of Hit Girl specifically. Not that she was bad as Hit Girl either. To be, I'm not trying to knock her. I actually do like her. I've never seen anything that she was in that I know of that I didn't really care for, but I've only seen her in a handful of things. But yeah, I think a lot of it came down to directorial choices and style differences that really begs the comparison between the two characters. I think if you take it by itself, like if we had seen this first, I think it would have seemed fairly competent. Like not anything special. Yeah, maybe.
I think Oscar
with both characters
or Owen.
Yeah.
That he was really good.
Yeah.
In both of them, actually.
In both of them, yes.
They just managed to get that like awkward, like youth, feeling out of both of them. Like, yeah, that's pretty much his only job in the movie. He's actually like, as the main character, he's actually pretty like unimportant.
A little backburnered, yeah. Which I think is intentional.
Is pretty much like a theme of the movie. He's like kind of
a background in his own life.
Expendable.
Yes.
An expendable person. And it's kind of like part of the point of it. So it's good that both characters kind of got that like awkward, insignificant type of person. Yeah, so I thought that was really good in both of them.
I did too. I actually felt that expendability that you're talking about. I maybe wouldn't exactly classify it with the same word, but we mean the same thing. The relationship between him and his parents is really interesting, and it really, I think, hammers home that feeling that you get. I don't want to go too deep into it because it's part
not
really
of the movie. Yeah. I could talk more about it too and give more reasons why I say that, but
yeah, but it is kind of like spoiling some of the parts of the movie that are good. The few reasons why I feel like maybe it's worth watching if you're interested in it.
Yeah, and you don't want to watch the original one.
Yeah.
Because you will have to.
Yeah. I would honestly suggest... I would honestly suggest seeing this one first if you haven't seen either.
And you are planning to watch the other one, I would too.
I would suggest watching this one first because I think there are things about this movie that a lot of people would enjoy. It's a little bit toned down and more for kids, I feel like, which is not kids, but like for a younger audience.
Yeah.
I think part of that is because it's paced a little faster and because it's a little more action-y in certain places.
Yeah, well, really... The other one just overshines this one.
It does. It outshines it. Yeah.
It's just like every way it could be like a little bit better. It is.
Yeah.
And this one's just a little bit worse and like not bad necessarily. Some parts are bad.
Yeah.
But like nothing terrible. Nothing like I can't believe that's the movie they made.
How dare they do that?
They kind of just didn't catch like the specialness of the original one?
They really didn't. I think they wanted to remake the movie because it was so popular and there's definitely something special about it, but they didn't really seem to understand what it was that set it apart from other movies.
Maybe they did.
I think we said that to each other.
Wasn't able to like recreate it, I kind of think.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to recreate snow in New Mexico, probably.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to recreate like special things too, like
True.
The chemistry between the two leads on that.
so important.
Was very good, and not that the other ones were bad. It just wasn't as good. Like I was saying, everything's just not as good.
I think their relationship is a lot more on paper in this one. I mean, by which I mean actually probably the opposite of what that implies. I think they left a lot of the relationship in Let the Right One In, the original, for the audience to make up in their head and for you to try to, like, figure out just by looking at what's going on and all of that stuff. Like, you pick up and decide how that relationship is. In this, it's a lot more concrete. They have a lot more interactions and spend more time with each other in a way that's, you know how they feel about it, instead of just letting them have their time. So I think that makes it feel a little more pedestrian, and I don't mean to sound all snooty by saying that, but it kind of does. It's like they're like, American audiences won't be able to pick up on the subtlety of this relationship and the nuance to this relationship, so we're going to put it a lot more solidly, like, they're buddies.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And that hurts it.
It does, yeah. Like you said, every part of it that could be just a little bit worse is the cinematography is a little bit worse. The aesthetic is a little bit worse. The setting is a little bit worse. The things that they do in the movie is a little bit worse. Specific plot points.
Then the general undertone.
Yes.
Is a little bit worse. The message is a little bit worse.
The now and laters.
Yeah. I know. I love now and laters.
One thing that I did really appreciate about this, and I would want to praise to basically high heaven, honestly, is that they were very careful about being loyal to the source material. If nothing else, you can say they did everything crappy, even if you go so far as to say that. I don't think it's crappy necessarily, but they were very loyal to it.
Kinda.
There are differences. There are definitely differences.
Well, I was thinking of, like, the book.
Oh,
the original movie.
I'm just talking about the movie.
The remake. That's all. I don't know.
There's a lot of stuff that I expected a Hollywood version of that movie to change that they actually stuck with. And that I appreciate. There's even a few parts where they were like, we're too afraid to do this. I'm sure you probably can figure out which part specifically I'm talking about. That they actually at least allude to in that movie, even though they aren't as direct about it as they are in the original movie.
Yeah, that's spoiler stuff you're talking about.
Yeah, okay, you know what I'm talking about for sure then. Yeah, but they do. They allude to stuff that they feel like American audiences would not appreciate, even if they can't put it in the movie or feel like they can't put it in the movie. Yeah, there's also bad CG in this, so they're loyal in that way.
There's way more bad CG in this. That's probably my biggest complaint. Everything else is just, okay or fine. Or even good. There's even good stuff in here.
Oh, there is, yeah.
But this is my biggest complaint, and my biggest thing is CG looks terrible. The need to try to action it up is fine in principle, but not the way they did it. Not in
execution.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I don't know why they did that. That's really the one thing that's just like I can't get behind in any regard whatsoever. I hate it, I guess.
There's one relationship specifically that they go a little bit more into in this movie that I actually kind of enjoyed. It was like the one thing that I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And it's the character, it's the relationship between Ellie and another person in her life, or I guess it's Abby in this movie. It's Abby. But they go much more in depth into that relationship than they ever do in the I don't know about the source material, like the book, but definitely in the first movie. And I think parts of that, like, I think they went a little overboard with that, but parts of it I really appreciated, that they kind of...
It fleshed out the idea, especially after watching the other one.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
You know which person I'm talking about, yeah.
Which I wish the whole movie did is probably... I'm sure that's in the book.
Expanded upon it.
The stuff that's in the book that's not in the other movie.
Yeah. Because
at least then you have a bigger idea of the story that maybe that's in the book or that you missed.
Yeah.
Because I'm never going to read the book.
Yeah, I think I looked into it, and I believe, at least when I looked into it, it hadn't been translated into English. I'm not positive. which is surprising, right?
That's why I'm not reading it.
Yeah, for sure. But I think I did look into it because I was interested in it immediately after I watched that movie.
I've seen 2 movies about it. I'm not gonna
read a book about it. Yeah, exactly. The other thing that I wanted to go into again, just briefly, was the winter thing. There is a part in this movie where you can say maybe this is a part of New Mexico that gets snow. The friend of mine that I spoke to who was talking about, with whom I spoke about it being set in New Mexico, she thought it was funny as well, that it was set in New Mexico and had all the snow. And she said there are parts of New Mexico that do occasionally get snow, but it's not going to cover for a whole winter, which is kind of what happened here. The movie seems to take place over weeks and weeks and weeks.
There's a part where they leave something outside. Mm-hmm. The next morning it has like an inch of snow on it.
Yes.
So it snows overnight. An inch a night, if not more.
Right. And there's another part where there's a frozen lake.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. That's
frozen solid. Happen. And there is literally no place in...
They're ice skating and stuff on it.
Yes. And they do, they are like, be careful be careful on the thin ice, blah, blah, blah. But like, there is no place in New Mexico that my New Mexican friend said... that you'll find a frozen lake in any part of the year.
I didn't imagine there would be.
Me neither. Yeah.
I don't know a ton about it, but
I don't either. Just having been to parts of that, like I've never been to New Mexico, but I've been to Arizona and places like that. There's just it seems very unlikely that even if hell did literally freeze over in the 80s somehow in New Mexico, that that there would ever be a frozen lake there. And that's what she said. There's no possibility of a frozen lake as far as she knows in any part of New Mexico. I wouldn't fight anybody on it who told me that if they, gave me an article about a frozen lake, but it seems highly unlikely. And again, there's no reason for it to be set either in winter or in New Mexico. So, what the hell?
Yeah, we talked about that already.
I know. I'm still pissed about it. That's like the thing there's no reason for it. It's reasonless. I definitely wouldn't have appreciated the movie as much if it didn't have a winter aesthetic. Like, I think that is a big part of, like, the theme of the movie. Just tonally. But I would have understood why they didn't do it.
As much as you, it's just more baffling to me.
Yeah.
Like, it's a mystery to me.
Yeah, for sure.
Some sort of puzzle that I just can't figure out. At least there's some sort of, like, subtext that I'm not understanding.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, I don't have anything else to say about it.
All right. Yeah. Is that it for the whole movie?
Yeah, pretty much for me.
Would you recommend this to anybody?
Fuck, that's a hard one.
Yeah.
That's a hard one knowing there's a better movie.
It is.
Yeah. If you don't want to read subtitles and you're interested in it.
Yeah. Again, I think if you want to watch Let the Right One In, and you also were interested in seeing the remake, again, I would definitely suggest, like, watching the remake first, because I don't think you'll like the remake very much after having seen the first one, but you might appreciate that on its own. That being said, if you watch Let Me In and didn't like it, don't let that turn you off of Let the Right One In, because it's not worth it. Honestly, if you think you're really not going to like it, if you don't like Hit Girl, if you don't like the idea of winter in New Mexico.
Girl, she's a little hit girly.
Oh yeah, no. If you like Hit Girl, I think she's not completely like Hit Girl. She has her moments, but
I think that's why she doesn't fit in the role that good.
Is because she has a few Hit Girly moments.
I was like, yo, when's Hit Girl gonna mess these fools up? What's happening?
Yeah. But yeah, I think if you think this movie is going to turn you off of Let the Right One In, then just watch Let the Right One In. But if you're interested in seeing both, watch this one first.
If that's what you do, is watch horror movies.
Yeah, that's literally what you do.
Just fucking watch them. Why are you even listening to us?
Exactly. I know that we nitpicked this one a lot, but honestly, it's not as bad as we're saying. But it does feel less mature than the previous movie, and I think that's probably my biggest complaint with it.
We can talk about the director for a second.
The American director?
Yeah.
Okay, who's the American director?
Because I haven't seen anything
that he's done.
The other director, Let the Right One In.
Director?
He also directed The Snowman, which I have not seen yet, but I want to.
Oh yeah, that's on our list.
So I can't really say too much about it.
Mm-hmm.
But the American director, he directed War of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Cloverfield of the Apes. No, I'm just kidding. It'd be a good one, though.
Oh, shit.
Episodes of Felicity. Yeah, stuff like that.
He directed those, Dawn and War?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and War for the Planet of the Apes are both pretty good. So,
Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Cloverfield. Mm-hmm. Cloverfield was directed well. I don't know how much I like it, but...
Yeah, it was pretty well directed. And that was an independent film at the time, kind of, wasn't it? Like, I mean, it had a theatrical leaf, but...
It was a smaller...
Yeah. I guess maybe independent is definitely not the word. Yeah.
So, I don't know. I've seen Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Mm-hmm.
And War of the Planet.
War for the Planet. You really liked War.
War of the Planet of the Apes was actually really good. I actually liked that a lot. Like, the end was a little stupid, but leading up to it, it was really good.
I understand why they ended up where they did.
I feel like they had to go to something, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just wanted to mention it since we're talking about the director of the movie. Like,
to be fair, like even if he hadn't directed something that I liked, this movie wouldn't turn me off of it. Like again, like some of the choices were not like perfect for this movie. I think it makes sense that he did those because those are big, showy, very visual movies, but with action in them. And I think that's what this movie like. It was. There wasn't a lot of action, but there was a lot more.
It's trying to be bigger than I think the movie it really was.
Yes, yeah. So this wouldn't have turned me off of that. But yeah, both of those are really good. If you like action-y, horror-y, sci-fi, whatever, watch the new remakes of the not remakes, but the new Planet of the Apes movies. They're actually all of them that I've seen have been really good. Yet. I didn't really care too much for the Tim Burton one. Yeah, and I haven't seen the new one somehow. I wanted to see that in the theater so bad too, and I just couldn't. That was when I was working my slave job, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that should be pretty much everything, I guess. We gotta eventually talk about the last movie, so I'm sure some people actually want to hear that one, so.
Yeah.
So that's our review of Let Me In from 2010. Okay, so we also went to see The Quiet Place from 2018.
A place that is quiet.
A place that is quiet.
Be quiet.
Be Quiet, the movie.
It's a quiet.
It's a quiet place?
Is it a quiet place? Is it just quiet place?
I think it's a quiet place. Oh, we should look it up. I usually do.
It's a quiet place.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, a quiet
place. But
I said a quiet place.
You said quiet place.
I said a quiet place.
It's a quiet place.
I said choir boy.
You said quiet place. Welcome to Quiet Place. Jim Halpert plays Quiet, a man who cannot speak. He is tortured with inner demons that he must defeat to raise his family.
Sam's just ripping off Red Letter Media now.
Yeah, right. All I do, don't tell people that. That's all I do is rip off Red Letter Media.
Fuck movies.
Fuck them.
All right. Sam, how did you...
Oh my god.
Never say that again. No, we both say that quite a bit. What did you think about A Quiet Place? How did you like A Quiet Place from 2018? Still in the theaters, I think, for some places.
Yeah, you go see it and be very disappointed.
Yeah.
I was not.
Mm-hmm.
I would rate this lower than expected.
Yeah,
and
me
I
too.
didn't really think I was gonna like it that much.
Mm-hmm. But even lower than that. Yeah.
So
you thought it would be I, and it was like less
than I. It wasn't terrible.
No, it wasn't terrible. No.
But yeah, it was very.
Yeah. So yeah, I would pretty much agree. I initially I had heard from everybody that it was super good, and then I heard from people whose opinions are more similar to mine about movies like this. People who have more experience with horror movies, and people who are, I don't know, into films, I guess is the way to put it.
Filmies, they call them.
Filmies, they call them. Yeah, filmies. People that are filmies, they started saying, oh, it's, blah, 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 something or other. They grumbled a little bit. Not
that's
yeah.
You weren't talking to me about it, but that's what I would have been doing too.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah, and that's what all of them were doing, and I'm like, okay, that's how I'm going to feel about it. And that's exactly how I felt about it.
Derivative. M. Night Shyamalan.
M. Night Shyamalan, yeah. It's not by M. Night Shyamalan, in case that's unclear.
It's not?
It's not, no. It's actually directed by John Krasinski, who is Jim from The Office, and he's the lead actor in it as well. It also stars his wife.
Ex-wife?
Now you're really stealing from...
No, I think they're getting divorced.
Are they really?
I don't know.
Emily Blunt, I think her name is. Yeah. People know who she is, and I don't.
I could look it up, I guess.
I think she's in a bunch of female empowerment movies, and not that those are bad or anything necessarily, but I don't watch those, really.
I think she's in a bunch of rom-coms.
Maybe she's in both.
Oh, she was in The Devil Wears Prada.
Oh, that's right. That was, yeah.
Which I've never seen.
She plays the mousy assistant to...
Does she?
Yeah, she does. Yeah. As I recall, anyway.
Does she?
I believe so.
She's like 1,000,000 years old to be playing an assistant.
She was tiny. She was tiny in that. That movie's really old.
Is it?
Yeah, that movie came out before I met you. Yeah. So...
Fuck her for getting old, right?
They just dress her in big sweaters and make her mess up her hair a little bit.
I guess they probably do play up how she looks in this kind of bad. Mm-hmm. She's kind of like stressed, to say the least.
Are you talking about
in this movie? In a quiet place. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think they tried to go fairly on the realistic side with this. I think they did a pretty good job of that element of it in certain ways. Specifically, yeah, the look of everybody. They're not trying to, make a big show for anybody, and that makes sense given the setting.
Yeah, yeah.
So the movie,
she just looks tired.
She does, which makes sense.
Makes sense, yeah. Which makes sense is she looks tired. Yeah. Like, looking at her makes me tired, which isn't hard.
Well, and Jim looks tired too.
Yeah. No,
John Krasinski. He's not as.
They all look very worn by the situation. Did you explain?
No, I was about to do that.
How much of that?
You interjected more about how Emily Blunt looks tired. So
how much of that do we say?
They gotta be quiet.
Gotta be quiet. It's quiet at their place. The neighbors, they like it quiet. So they start making a racket. The neighbors come. It's a big mess.
That's a different movie. That's 5 different movies, actually.
It's close to this movie.
So I think we can... Okay, if you haven't seen the trailer and you're interested in seeing this and you want to see it, first of all, probably see it in the theater. Probably try to see it on a day when nobody's there.
Oh, that would be the best.
It would be the best. But also, don't listen to this. If you don't want to know what the movie is about...
It's very hard not to spoil. It's actually a better movie. Mm-hmm. If you go in knowing almost nothing, but that's super hard.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think it's too impossible if you know the scenario not to guess.
And if you don't know it, and you might not even enjoy the movie as much.
True.
Large portions of the movie are completely quiet.
Yes.
Which is a plus and a minus.
Yeah.
So, and we'll get into it.
Yeah. So if you do want absolutely no spoilers, there's no way for us to do this. Mind you, the thing that we're going to talk about probably happens 10 minutes into the movie. Mm-hmm. It's technically before what I would call the first act. Yeah. So if that bothers you, go away now.
It's almost like it is like a pre-scene.
Yeah, it's like a prelude or what the fuck do they prologue. Yeah. Prologue in a movie.
Prologue.
Prologue. Okay, so we can talk about it now. So, basically, A Quiet Place takes place in the world, and there's this family, and that's John Krasinski's family, including his real-ass wife. But I don't think his real-ass kids. I don't know that...
I don't think so either.
I think he does have kids. I don't think these are them. But there's a monster that doesn't like noise. Or it does like noise. It likes noise very much. It likes to eat noise. So...
It doesn't actually eat noise.
No, it doesn't eat noise. It goes after anything.
It hunts by noise.
Yeah, it hunts using noise.
It would be cooler if it ate noise, yes, I agree.
That would be cool. Let's make that movie. We gotta make that one, and then we have to make... What was that other one?
The Noise Eaters.
The Noise Eaters. And then...
Get at us, Blumhouse or whatever.
Blumhouse. Did Blumhouse make this one?
I assume.
Sorry,
I'm over here cracking myself up over here.
I think it may have been Blumhouse. I don't know. In some capacity, produced it.
A20 whatever. A24 Studios.
I don't know what that is.
You don't know that one?
No, that one I don't know.
I thought you were cool.
Yeah, I'm probably not. But yeah, anyway, it hunts using noise, which again is very early revealed in the movie. It's not, they don't try to make it a secret, which I think is great, because if they did, it would be terrible. And there's this family who's just trying to survive, be a family, and survive. What did you think about the cinematography in this film?
It was fine. It wasn't anything special.
I thought there were some really good parts.
There were some good shots for sure.
Yeah.
I just think
I think a lot of
it is like this movie is a little like reductive and and repetitive and
Mm-hmm.
overused.
Fair.
It seems
Probably fair.
It seems like this movie, like there was a checklist of things
that they wanted
to check off for the feel of this type of movie. It's very, and I think they did say this on the Red Letter Media review. Mm-hmm. It's very like Signs-esque.
It is very Signs-esque. It's different, but
yeah, it's totally the feel
a lot of the
tone,
some of the cinematography, some of the color palette was very similar. Not all of it, but some of it. Yeah, very very much so. I would say so. Not that
that's bad. Mm-hmm. I don't even think Signs is.
No, say it. Signs
that
is fine.
Bad of a movie.
Signs is fine.
And I could see why that was what they were going for, but like it really reminded me of that, and and that's not good or bad, but
it just is what it is.
It's just kind of a thing people do. Mm-hmm. So in that way, it's like not very original. No, and that's probably my biggest problem with this movie.
Yeah. Okay. I think my biggest problem in this movie is the massively large amount of plot holes.
Okay.
But yeah, yes.
That one too.
It does lack a certain.
If it was more unique, though, I could forgive it. That's what
I was gonna say. Literally, when you just jumped in there, it lacks a certain uniqueness that I feel like it desperately wants. I think that the idea of having a movie with this much silence in it, especially a pretty well marketed horror movie, is a good idea. And even as a horror hook, it's a good idea. It's clearly a horror hook. They're just trying to find something that seems different, but it doesn't feel different enough. The other thing that kind of bugged me was that while much of the movie is very, very quiet, they decided it would be a good idea for some reason to put a score over the silence in a lot of places. And it's like, I understand you're trying to establish mood, but I think it's going to be more unsettling if you just let it be quiet. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree with that, like, completely. Mm-hmm. It was like, it didn't want to go too hard on anything. Mm-hmm. And I think that really hurt the movie overall. I just saw a movie that did go hard on everything. Mm-hmm. That even if it was cliche, it went harder on it than other stuff.
It leaned in.
Yeah, leaned in and hard. And it probably took a movie that I probably would say was forgettable and made it pretty, like, great. And that's what this probably needed to do for me to enjoy it. A lot of people enjoyed it. Yeah. That is what I hear.
No, people really did. I think it had a pretty good mass appeal, but I think horror fans specifically, the ones that I know anyway, seem to be slightly more disappointed with it than the general audience.
Probably because they feel like they've seen it a lot of times. And that's
even though they're trying to be so unique.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen a lot of the stuff in this and like,
in other things.
Yeah, and other stuff was kind of picked apart and put into this. Mm-hmm. I could be more specific, but I don't want to like give away anything. Yeah. But like just the feel, the look of stuff, the creatures themselves aren't like super original. There's some cool stuff about them.
Oh yeah, but there was some thought put into those.
No, there were definitely but it's not. They weren't like a great design. We were talking about movies of this kind of like the Sixth Sense, like
Sixth Sense? Signs?
Oh, Signs, sorry. Like Signs.
I was really confused for a minute.
It's kind of like the Sixth Sense. It's about hearing.
That's
a sense.
Hearing dead people.
It's kind of like I Am Legend. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like Tremors. You know, there's a lot of other like
pieces.
Yeah, that just kind of put into this movie, which on its own isn't bad. It just makes it feel like you've seen it before if you've seen those movies, and
right,
you know. So I think that really hurts it in that way. Mm-hmm.
So one of the most important parts of this movie, I think most people would say, is the element of family, the dynamics between the family. How did you feel about the dynamics of the family in this case?
I hated the family.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that I hated the family. I would say that most of the dynamics were very, very surface level and a bit cliche. Yeah. I think they spent a lot of time building up certain aspects, certain relationships coming to like their emotional peak or whatever happened so like, obviously. Like, there's... Yeah. I felt like I didn't feel any love between the parents. I felt like
the actual
married couple. Oh, shoot. Oh, God, they are getting divorced, aren't they?
I don't know.
Oh, I actually had not really considered that. I kind of was separating that somehow in my brain, but yeah.
Real nice.
I don't really feel any of that at all. At all. The relationship between the kids, they don't really spend any time on at all. The kids don't spend a whole lot of time with each other. And so they don't have much of a sibling vibe to them.
Well, like, the movie focuses on, like the mundane tasks that they have to go through each day, you know?
Yep. And
that doesn't even pan out.
Right.
So they don't go with a bigger overarching, like, just showing, like, the best moments of, like, a family, like, bonding and so on and so forth. Trying
to hold shit together in
crazy
circumstances.
They mostly just go through, like, this is what their day's like, and that makes the movie fall apart, actually.
It kind of does.
Because why are they going through all this mundane stuff when, like, they should be working on, like, other stuff.
Yeah.
Or bonding, so we know what...
One of the two.
Yeah, what we expect from the movie.
Yeah, that's probably true. I was actually going to jump in and say, like, I think, and I know we've talked about this, but I think some of the reason why they're doing all these menial daily tasks and stuff like that and still trying to maintain some sense of normalcy is probably because they're still trying to have a family. Like, somehow, miraculously, like, they have made it to the point where the movie begins with their family intact, which does not seem to
and the movie starts with society, like, crumbled. Yeah.
They start out, like, scabbing, like you know, in Fallout, like, literally going to I think I actually made a joke about that in the theater, didn't I? Saying it was
real nice, and the whole theater heard you. Crunchy nachos, and
I was not eating anything.
Can we talk about that?
About not eating anything?
No, about the theater being full.
Okay,
are you into it?
I think we're going to wait until the end on that one. But no, I think they're trying to keep a sense of normalcy, to keep, because that's a part of their values. I mean, they literally, like, they're a religious family. They pray. But I think they're trying to keep together society by keeping their family doing the things that a family does together. I think that's stupid, but it's a real thing.
It's what they decided to do.
It's what they decided to do, and I'm sure there are people, you know, in this scenario who would do that. You just happen to be with one of those families.
That's going to be a no from me, dog.
But, yeah, of course, exactly. No, me too. I'm fucking living in a mall or some shit. I don't know. Actually, I'm not even going to get into that. Never mind. But, so... That element, the mundanity, like, is explainable, but it does feel weird. If you're not going to do that, you do have to build the family bond and really feel in your heart this bond between each of these characters and how important they are to each other and how much they mean to each other and, like, how much they rely upon each other. And you get very little of that. Mm-hmm. And that's where I think it falls apart. It can do one or the other poorly, but it's got to do something well. And those being two of the most important factors of the movie and both not really working. For me, anyway. I think that's what really is the crux of the problem with this movie on, like, a take it outside of it, like, you know, fully suspended disbelief positioning. I think that's the big problem.
Yeah, no, there's...
I think you said it.
Yeah, there's a lot of that type of stuff that just misses, kind of. Mm-hmm, yeah. Like, near hits but misses.
Yeah, near hits.
They just build up in this movie that just make me, like, not be able to enjoy it for several reasons. Mm-hmm. Nothing, like, so big that I'm like, okay, that one thing is so bad that I can't enjoy this movie.
No.
But a lot of little things
that stack.
You know, tone-wise, acting-wise, logic-wise, story-wise, that just like I tried to like you movie.
I think they did a really good job, for the most part, with the emoting. Again, so much of this is silent.
There's good stuff. I like some of the feel of it, like Like, I like how it kind of feels like a Stephen King story.
It does, yeah.
I like that stuff. I don't even hate the family necessarily.
No.
They're just kind of nothing.
Yeah.
I like the creature, like, idea behind the creature, even if I don't really like the creature.
Mm-hmm.
I like some of the cinematography, and I think a lot of the location.
Oh yeah.
Were really good, and that kind of like so good that it didn't make sense logically in the story anymore. Because the settings were like, oh, that's like super great looking. Why are they here?
Yeah.
They should get out of this
really pretty area.
Yeah, and go somewhere
practical.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That looks like shit and is safe.
Yeah. Yeah. I think talking about going somewhere safe is the beginning of talking about. So, my recorder is really full. It's got a lot of stuff on it that I can't really delete. So it cut off right before a glorious Sam rant. And I was in the middle of saying the word plot holes when it cut. Yeah, I think this is what he just said on the recording that you will hear is a good transition to get into plot holes. I think it's time to talk about the plot holes. And we've just done this. So we're probably just going to repeat a bunch of shit that we've ever said. Yeah, we had practice.
Which
Maybe
is funny.
Sam can be calmer.
Which is funny because this is me repeating something I said on the last podcast about Tremors 5, about the Tremors series in general.
Right.
Is it the biggest plot hole for me, especially in new movies, is the idea that like a natural creature could somehow wipe out humanity.
Right. Now we don't know that it is natural.
No, it could not be natural. I'm just using it in like it's not biological. It's not like a man-made thing that they did to themselves.
It is biological.
Yeah, I guess so. But natural in the way that it's like a creature.
Yeah, it easily could be. They don't explain the origin of the creatures, which I don't think is really much of a spoiler.
Yeah.
But it could be extraterrestrial. It could be something that like Tremors, just like they somehow the government could have made them. Yeah, they never really nailed down.
But I don't believe that's something that, unless they're incredibly like powerful or smart, more smart, yeah, more smarter than people could like do anything to the human race. No. Like with technology. Just annihilate them, and it'd be a big problem with the glaring weaknesses that they have, and just the way humans have evolved and continue to evolve to destroy anything that they want.
We've destroyed species on accident.
Yeah, exactly. Like in whatever time that they were hunting whales.
Yeah.
Was a pretty primitive time. They like used hooks and wooden boats to like kill these however many ton creatures with no regard of their own lives, essentially, and almost to extinction.
Yeah.
And
again, without trying.
And
that's not what they were trying to do.
This is hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
And now with technology the way it is, and the stuff we have to use, it's just a ridiculous thing. The same thing I feel with Tremors. Like the first one makes sense; they didn't know what it was, but by the second one, people would have thought up millions of ways to kill them, and to kill them, and practice killing them, and die killing them, and it would be a whole thing.
Yeah, well, and like this particular creature has such an easy way. There's a specific thing that is so obvious to literally anybody who thinks about it for half a second.
Yeah. It's like none of these people even watch Night of the Living Dead.
Oh, yeah. Night of the Living Dead. Yeah, I think your point is really strong on that. I think you said it better the first time.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate, but There is such, with all these creatures in movies, there's always some kind of a weakness of some kind that you can exploit, unless that's the whole point, is they're supposed to just annihilate everything. And this would be impossible for one government or another on the face of the planet not to have discovered. And there's reasons why that are a little bit too spoilery, that the way things played out is not possible. I'm actually going to pause for a second to talk to Sam about what I'm talking about so that we can chat on this. Yeah. So, yeah, I just talked about that thing.
Yeah, it's obvious.
It's impossible for somebody not to have figured out how to best deal with and dispatch these creatures.
Yeah, no matter how dangerous.
Yeah, yes.
Like, these are essentially
and they are
animals.
Very dangerous, yes.
Animals, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like,
mm-hmm.
we cage animals.
Yeah.
We have no respect for animals whatsoever.
Have zoos.
We have no fear of animals
mm-hmm.
at all. And these are basically just animals.
We keep apex predators in fucking zoos and
yeah, exactly.
have little babies watch them.
We have no fear of these things. Yeah. Like, and this doesn't have, these creatures don't have any better resources than some of these predators, you know? Like,
I'd say a little bit, but
not
enough
to what they imply,
happened.
Like, destroyed society. Like, I have no idea, because they don't tell you.
No.
So maybe there's backstory that makes more sense to it, but they didn't tell me it, so I don't know it, if there is.
The logical way that this story had to have taken place before the movie actually starts, the way that it seems like they are implying it doesn't make sense. Just because it is impossible, again, not to have figured out a way to deal with this.
Yeah.
With this problem.
And that's really my number one biggest problem with movies like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not plausible.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I just think about it too much, like,
mm-hmm.
Focus on it. Yeah, I focus on it too much, and that's why, like, Jurassic Park makes sense to me.
Right. Okay.
Because the whole reason there's a movie is because we don't care about we don't care about these animals. We don't care about killing people. We don't care. We're not worried about it on a long.
Yeah,
in the long view, we don't care. Yeah. Like, yeah, maybe they'll destroy a bunch of people and need a bunch of tourists.
But the idea
we'll be fine.
We are so close to that.
We're over here.
Yeah, I mean, in the 90s, we were so close to that, and we're still so close to that. Like, we have so little disregard for nature and like, the power of nature that people build houses on fault lines and, you know, along coasts that are constantly being battered by terrible tropical storms. I don't mean to... Okay, I'm not trying to get on a soapbox, but you're right. Jurassic Park makes sense because...
That's why people are better than those things and better than nature. So you know the fuck.
USA.
We ain't scared.
USA.
We ain't scared of nothing, fool.
I think that not that we're talking about Jurassic Park, but Jurassic Park is a natural extension of both our progress as quote unquote progress as society and our complete disconnect with nature. The takeaway from that movie is like, hey, people will think dinosaurs are cool. People will. If they made that now, even after the Jurassic Park movies, people would go to it.
I would go.
Think it was awesome.
I don't care.
I would totally go.
I would go.
I would 100% go. I would think it was a terrible, terrible idea.
Oh, yeah.
I would probably think there's some chance I would die, but I'd be okay with that.
I make terrible decisions every day.
I'd sign the fucking waiver.
I'd go too. I want to see some dinosaurs.
All right, we're agreed then. We go to Jurassic Park now.
I go watch these things in zoos.
But I you had also...
I'd be knocking on the glass. They would hate it. They'd be like, oh.
Don't tap the glass.
They'd be hearing it so loud. Oh my God,
those people... Did you see that video of those people who got out of their car at the lion, like, in the lion sanctuary or some shit? I can't remember. They're crazy. Them and their kids got out of the car, started taking pictures of them, and obviously they attacked. It was lions or something big like that. Anyway, so yeah,
cool.
We're in Jurassic Park.
Pretty cool.
So the other comparison that you had made, I don't know if you made it on this version 2.0 of Plot Holes, was Tremors 1.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense in Tremors 1.
But by 5.
It makes sense in Tremors 1 that they would be completely blindsided by this. They've never seen it before. They don't know what the hell is going on. Totally makes sense. By 5, which literally takes place, like, in our year, as did the first movie that took place in its year, so it's been 35 years between movies, somehow they're still completely unable to deal with these creatures. They don't have a process in place. You don't just, like, call a hotline and be like, yo, there's some fucking critters running around.
No, the critters are different.
Critters.
Critters are different, but yeah. By Critters 5, they should have a system of killing critters.
There should be a hotline. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And that's kind of where it feels like this movie is. Even though the movie is not the 5th in its series, it takes place after shit has already gone to hell.
Very long after, it seems like.
If they set this movie in the period where these things just first started attacking and nobody knew what the hell was going on and why it happened, oh yeah, it would be a bloodbath. Hundreds of maybe not hundreds of thousands, but I would say tens of thousands of people.
They don't ever tell you how many there are either, like
no,
where the density is or anything. Mm-hmm. Like they barely know in the movie.
Yeah. They have a vague idea.
Like at most, this would make sense that it was some sort of like invasion strike, and maybe they like set the first wave of those things off on like specific like locations to like cripple communications and stuff like that. Yeah. But it didn't say that in the movie. It didn't allude to anything like that.
No, it didn't.
So I have no idea. And
the way that your brain sees and interprets the information that they do give you of what happened before the movie started.
It seems like they had some knowledge.
Yes.
A lot of knowledge beforehand.
Yes. Before everything went to shit.
Was terrible, yeah.
They had figured out large portions, the most important factors, that would unlock this whole thing and turn it into like why Tremors 5 doesn't work on that level.
That was another big problem I had with this movie is it didn't, and I guess maybe we already talked about why, but it didn't feel like they were trying to prevent themselves from getting killed by these things. They were focusing too hard on like maintaining a regular life.
Yes. Which
really bugged me.
Yeah.
And it's really not the way like humans
adapt to things.
Adapt and deal with that. Like we didn't survive all these years by being like, oh, that thing's probably going to kill us tomorrow, but let's like do some mundane bullshit. But let's say
grace.
Yeah, let's do a ton of mundane bullshit instead of spending all our time being like, yo, we're fucking killing this thing. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I wish I could remember what I said on what side of this fucking podcast now, because there's a lot of that, a lot of the plot holes. So it just doesn't make sense that the family is still here. God, I hate that we have to keep talking about it. Like that we had to redo this. The last time when this happened, we only missed a couple of minutes, and this time we missed like a large portion. I've been trying to keep an eye on this because I knew that my recorder was going to get stored full. We're good now.
It's a long episode.
Yeah, it's fine. But yeah, it doesn't make sense for them to focus so hard on trying to keep them as a family. If you're really going to keep them together as a family, if your motivation is to keep your family alive, who cares about like maintaining some sense of normalcy? If your point is to keep them alive, there are steps you can take, and they are just not taken in a way that seems in any way realistic. Mm-hmm. They are not taken in the order that makes sense.
It's very frustrating actually. Mm-hmm. It makes you think Jim's a bad dad, and I've actually always thought that.
John Krasinski, he's a human being.
I don't know John Krasinski, but Jim.
You have a friend who knew him, kind of.
The Jim Halpert I know, bad dad.
Bad dad.
Bad dad.
Bad dad. I think I think that's a.
Now, if Dwight was the main character of this movie, I think it would have been the movie I would want to watch.
Oh man, actually.
Right?
Yeah. Dwight as this would make sense. This movie would make sense. They would make the right choices. I don't think this character is, you keep saying that because I know you think it's funny, but I don't think that his character is supposed to be Jim. It doesn't feel like Jim, and if anything, this is him trying very hard to step away from it, and which is why I'm trying to be mindful of that and call him by his actual name.
I think he's exactly like Jim.
John Krasinski. I don't know what the character's name is. It's, they don't do a whole lot of saying each other's names in this movie.
Not a lot of talking.
Not a lot of talking. So, but yeah, I mean, honestly, just it's unrealistic. It is much more important to keep your family alive than to keep your family in a sense of normalcy. And you know what? You can rebuild that sense of normalcy once you're in a place that makes sense and that you are safe. And there are many, many places where you could be safe.
More safe.
That they don't, yes, in a relative sense, yes. Where your odds of survival are much, much higher. And I think there are certain events that take place in the movie that would make that feeling, that priority from being a family to saving your family, I think there are events in the movie that make it very, very, very apparent that they should have already been doing that.
Yeah. That's really the hardest thing, too, that it's very hard to ignore.
It's hard to overcome. It is, yeah. Now, there's a lot of other technical things that are really annoying about this movie, too. There's a lot of plot holes, like, with the way that the creatures function, with the not just the logic of the family, trying to be a family or whatever, like, those things, too. But there's a lot of things where, like, they just don't make sense. Like, literally, what you are doing doesn't make sense. The mechanics of what's happening don't make sense. The plot holes in the sense of, like, the way the creatures function and the way that the society functions around it. Like, there's a lot of it, and it really just builds on top of each other, and it becomes harder and harder to ignore. And then there'll be a specific thing that they seems like it answers a question that you had earlier, a question that's arised because of something that happens in the movie, and then that just adds to that. It makes it less clear because it poses all these other questions that come up from that. And I think at a certain point, it just, you hit that tipping point, I guess. Yeah. I do still think this is a fine movie. I think if you're a general person who likes digestible-ish horror movies and wants to see something slightly unique, I do think that you would enjoy this, probably. Many of you would enjoy this.
What did you think?
About the movie as a whole? Like, my opinion on it?
Yeah, would you recommend it? Other than that, no. Would you say it's on the better side of good, or you think it's worse?
I think.
Or is it like who would do like a thumbs up, thumbs down, Siskel and Ebert style?
Siskel and Ebert.
You give it thumbs up, thumbs down. Is that too strict? I know. I think thumbs up, thumbs down is too strict.
I think it is too strict. I think it's very close to the line. I'm not sad that I saw it. I am glad that when we saw it with one of our cute friends.
Yeah. Can we talk about seeing it in the theater?
Yeah, I was just getting to that.
Oh, sorry.
Still giving my opinion in the middle of my opinion.
I'm excited to talk about seeing it in the theater.
All right. Try to keep your voice down since you're close to the mic now.
My butt hurts from sitting.
We've been doing this one for a while. So yeah, I think it's definitely right at that line, and I think depending on who you are, if you're in the same mindset as me, depending on exactly who you are and what you take away from this movie, you're going to be on one side or the other of it. Again, I'm not mad that I saw it. I'm glad that I supported the movie in the theater. You know, I'm supportive of John Krasinski not having to play Jim for his entire career, which I really think he was in danger of, and maybe this movie did actually help with that in some way.
What do you say so?
You think so?
I think he's Jim in this movie.
Okay.
That's what happens after The Office.
Yeah. But honestly, like, if somebody were watching this movie again, I wouldn't feel compelled to leave the room. I don't think I would really necessarily seek it out. I also think it's something that, again, in the theater is worth seeing if you like to see movies in the theater. And I think if you really want to see this movie, there's no other way to do it. Do not watch it at home. It is really good.
I could see watching it if you have a decent setup, like nice and dark and quiet.
Surround sound, and
if you have that,
is fairly decent.
If you have that kind of setup where you could like just sit and watch a dark movie,
yeah,
it's the way it'd be a good view, but not like haphazardly, like just not really paying attention. Because you can't not pay attention.
No, you really do.
There's a ton of reading in it for it being an English language movie. So a lot of subtitles from them doing sign language in it, which I thought was cool.
Yeah. For sure. And that's one portion of the movie that actually is kind of interesting for a few reasons, but I don't really want to get into it
since it's already long.
Yeah,
and it's real as fuck sign language too.
Oh yeah, that's actual real sign language. A few of the signs that I saw were ones that I recognized and knew. So, some of it is kind of like the way they do it is kind of like they're not clearly trained in it. They're making the correct motions, but they're sloppy.
Hey, there's monsters out there.
There's monsters out there. No time for
it. These signs out.
No time for it. The theater experience. Sam, I believe you mentioned wanting to talk about the experience in the theater that we had.
We were in the noisiest, littlest theater you could ever be in.
Small.
There was people like unwrapping hot dogs or something in front of us, and they were just like crinkling a single bit during the long portions of quietness. somebody across the theater dropped change on the floor like 5 times. It just
that did happen.
They're just constantly dropping change all over the floor, just noise clanging. The air conditioner was going like crazy. They were like, "Yo, is the sound off on this?" It was not an ideal theater
viewing experience. Yeah. There was also, and Sam didn't mention this because he probably wasn't nearly as affected by it as I was. There was a person sitting next to me. There was one seat in between us who was sitting with his girlfriend, and before the movie, they had been like, cuddling up on each other and blah blah and this and that. Whatever, don't care about that. I seriously thought for like 3/4 of the movie that he was making out with his girlfriend really loudly. Instead, he was just like smacking his lips and making these really disgusting human sounds right next to me. And like, I kept like side eye, like not like the rude, like side eye that I wanted him to notice, but literally like, what the fuck sound is this? And was never quite clear till the end that no, he was not making out with his girlfriend. He is just obnoxious as hell. And I had to sit next to that for the whole movie. Everybody in the row in front of us was eating popcorn. Literally every single person who was in front of us was eating popcorn.
Everybody in there was eating something.
Yeah. There was a person who got something at the concession stand where they give you one of those little buzzers.
Like your TGIF Fridays?
Yeah, like, oh, your table is ready. Had one of those in the theater, and it was the loudest thing. Somebody did their phone vibrate.
It was going off because their food was ready.
Yeah, it was going off because their food was ready, and like, took their sweet-ass time getting out of there, too. Like, oh, I'm gonna do this, and oh, why is this thing buzzing? And looks at it for like 5 seconds before she realized what she's holding. I mean, it was a zoo. It was a zoo what we went through.
And those things think they can beat us? Come on. We'd be munching on them in the theater watching it. A new delicacy.
Oh, shit.
But go, your weird monster thing is ready. Your
weird monster
your
legs.
little pod thing is going off. Better go get it.
Better get it. Yeah. Yeah, it was really interesting. Our viewing experience was I mean, I think pretty much everybody who saw this probably went through something similar. Everybody had to have said, like, you could hear anybody eating any popcorn and everything.
Yeah, if you weren't sitting completely still at a lot of parts,
you could hear yourself. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh my god, every chair that creaked in there, which, there were a few, and you could tell the people were, like, trying their hardest not to squeak.
It seems like it makes more noise that way.
Yes, it does seem like it makes, like, the consciousness of it. And the air conditioning was really bad. It was really squeaky. Like, something in it, the fan needed to be replaced or something. Most movies are so loud, you'd never notice. But, like, I had to tell them after the movie that it was the air conditioning. They weren't...
I don't know what it was.
Yeah, I knew it was the air conditioning. I could hear the air turning on and off, and I could hear that squeak that was a fan that just needed to be oiled.
That guy smacking his lips.
Oh my god.
Oh, Jim. Yeah, Jim. I like that beard.
I wish it sounded just like that. Jim. If it sounded like that, it would be one thing. It was a much more... I can't even describe the sound, but it was much grosser than just... No. I don't know what the fuck it was. Right in there.
Right in everybody's ear. You're welcome.
It was really gross. And that was my least favorite part about the movie, was the guy sitting next to me. He wasn't trying to be rude, I'm sure, but it happened so many fucking times, and I swear to God, every time I was just like, you motherfucker.
That part of watching it was actually very annoying.
Yes.
But it's almost worth me going through that, because it's kind of hilarious.
It is also kind of hilarious.
Though how, like, stupid...
You kind of have to laugh
everything is, yeah.
It's impossible not to. All the human sounds are, like... The amount of sound that a human makes is so very apparent in that. So, yeah, we went to go see this with another friend of ours, who's amazing. And, I really would have liked to have done the podcast with her, but it was late and she was going somewhere right after, so... Couldn't have. I didn't want to ask her anyway. I was too intimidated to ask her to be on my podcast. Yeah, it was really fun to go to the movies with a friend. And luckily, like, Sam and this person are people who you can trust to actually, like, pay attention to a movie and not be obnoxious, which was really nice. I think if you do see this with friends...
I wait until the movie's over.
To be obnoxious. Oh, yeah, absolutely. But he's very good at waiting until the end of the movie.
I need to pick it apart.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, it is vital that you go to a movie with somebody with an attention span and who can shut the fuck up. Because otherwise, this movie is going to annoy you really bad. Mm-hmm.
That's another thing is when...
Or your friend is going to annoy you really
That's
bad.
where the people have such high regards for it.
Mm-hmm.
Being that you do kind of need an attention span.
You do, yeah.
For it. And yeah, and any little thing in your theater could just ruin your experience. Like, I was fine with it because it actually was kind of hilarious.
You're not
but to a certain point, it was annoying me until I was like, oh, this movie's kind of a joke too, so. Because in the rating of thumbs up, thumbs down, I definitely give it a thumbs down.
Do you really?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you would specifically not recommend it?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Fuck Jim.
Oh, God. Sam.
Fuck Jim.
His name is John Krasinski, and he's
Get
a
Dwight
human
in there.
being.
Dwight's rights.
Dwight's name is Rainn Wilson. They're both humans.
Yeah, you know how I feel about those.
So, I think I want to take a little bit of time to also talk about the story of the other friend that we know who went to this movie, because I think it's really funny.
I don't really remember it, so... Yeah.
Okay, sure. Okay, well, there. It'll be like the first time. So we have this friend who went to go see this movie, and this friend of ours is a little bit of a... How would you describe him, Sam?
I don't know. For this story specifically, in general, I would describe him as sweet, probably.
He is sweet.
But for the sense of this movie, to help you with the story of this movie, I guess odd.
Yeah, he's a bit of a nut.
Not a mean way.
No. In a really fun, quirky way, but not in a Zooey Deschanel quirky way.
Yeah, it's a little hard to not seem like I'm being a dick, so...
He is sweet. And he's also a nut.
Yeah, I guess that is his best. I don't know. Yeah, I guess
so he's a chestnut, right? Those are sweet, right? Okay,
I guess the best you could put it.
Adam is a chestnut. Okay.
And the story will show you why.
Yeah,
I kind of remember
exactly.
it now that we're talking about it.
I already said his name, so I'll continue to say his name. So our friend Adam went to go see this movie, and the sort of thing that he's the sort of person who kind of gets up to shenanigans that, you know, people in middle school found were really funny, which a lot of our friends do, and we enjoy at least to observe. Sometimes we participate. We deign to participate. Huh?
Not me.
In their 12 years. What the? You do too.
I don't.
You shaved part of your head for a show.
It'd be cool though.
And then had all your band members shave part of their head for the show.
It was to be cool.
And then you called everybody who ever shaved the rest of their head a coward.
Yeah, because I'm cool. Finish the story. This isn't a me story.
Okay. So what he thought would be funny, he intentionally invited somebody to the movie who cannot shut the fuck up during movies. I do not know who this person is, by the way. The second person, no idea. So he sits down in the movie theater, and there's somebody in front of him, and I think I am 100% just stealing the story from someone else, and it was told to me weeks ago. So I'm not positive that every detail is right, but whatever. I think at a certain point the friend or whatever was talking or making noise or whatever, and the person turned around. And the person was actually a customer at the job that Adam has. A very regular customer. And so he says, like, oh, hey, what's up? And says his name. I can't recall the person's name. And I think the guy recognized him and, like, gave him a weird look or something like that. I can't remember for sure. And then, you know, continued to turn around, you know, and watch the movie or whatever. Or watch the previews of the movie or whatever. And the person, of course, that he brought with him did not shut up. Like, could not shut up. And Adam got to this point where he was so, like, I don't know whether he was so embarrassed or self-conscious,
nervous,
or, like, just kind of sad that the person he's annoying happens to be somebody that he actually knows.
Yeah. That kind of knows.
Yeah. That he had to leave the movie.
Yeah, they left.
Theater.
They didn't finish the movie.
They did not finish the movie. He didn't get to the end of the movie. Which, honestly, it's not really too much of a loss. I don't think.
Oh, thumbs down, Jim.
if you weren't compelled to tell your friend to get the hell out of the theater so you could continue to watch the movie, then I don't know. But anyway, so and then now he continuously, I mean not currently, but he still has to see this customer who like the next couple of times I guess that he came in was really still seemed mad at Adam about it.
They were
even
saying
though Adam wasn't the one who was talking.
They were saying they went to their job like daily.
Yeah, this customer is like a regular, like a daily regular, and now the customer is, from what we understand, at least as far as we know, still mad at him.
I feel like this is the type of movie that like everybody has to have like a story.
Yeah.
Like
it's impossible to walk away from this without a theater story.
Yeah, where like, oh, I was in the theater and you could hear every single thing and this happened and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know this, but I feel like there should have been like a million fights probably.
Oh my god.
During this movie of people just being like, hey, could you shut up? Mm-hmm. And so on.
Shut the fuck up,
bro. I hadn't heard anything about that. But if there is something like that, send me the YouTube video about it.
Or the article link.
No,
you know it would have probably hit news.
I'm not reading any articles if it's not a YouTube video.
Okay, then you can send me the link to the article.
If it's not a YouTube video, it basically didn't even exist. Didn't happen.
Didn't happen.
But yeah, it's funny that this is that type of movie.
It is.
It's kind of like experience.
It is.
And that's really the only thing that saves the movie for me at all.
Yeah, is the experience. Yeah. I would to a certain extent agree. I do think most people who saw this probably do have a story. Like, it would be hard not to. Like,
it's just, there's so much to go wrong, and so, like...
It takes so little to go wrong, too.
Yeah.
For it to seriously weigh on you. Like I said, like, even if nobody else was in that theater, that air conditioning...
It would have been wailing.
Wailing. It would have been obnoxious to the point where I probably would have still sat through the movie, but that's the first thing I would have said when the lights came up was like, man, did you hear that fucking air conditioner squeaking? Mm-hmm. What the hell?
I almost said something to the the theater, but
one of the two of you, I don't know if it was you or the other person that we saw it with, but I believe that you guys mentioned it before we even made it all the way out of the theater. I think it was our other friend. Because I was walking with her and you were slightly behind us. Mm-hmm. And I think by the time we got out, you asked us what we were talking about.
Oh, and it was that.
And it was the air conditioner. I think that was literally the conversation that we were having as we walked out of the theater, so.
So that's a thing.
That's a thing.
See it in the theater.
Yeah. See it in a theater. It's probably... If you want a smooth viewing experience, try to see it when nobody is there.
Or if you have a decent setup at home where, it'll be quiet.
Yeah. Or if you want to annoy the piss out of everybody, just,
Just talk through the whole thing?
Just bring a friend that'll talk through the whole thing without any self-consciousness whatsoever. Which is what Adam did. Don't be...
So why aren't they talking? What's happening? Is that Jim?
Why does Emily Blunt look so tired? Sam wouldn't stop mentioning it is the only reason why in the beginning. He did finally stop mentioning it. Yeah, I guess that's probably it about this movie. I don't think there's anything else. I already stole somebody else's story, and I didn't claim it as my own, though.
That's good.
So, that's
Just
good.
never tell him.
TB Adam. Oh, he'll never listen to this. It's fine.
I know, so don't ever tell him.
If he did, I would be really embarrassed. So, don't listen to my stuff.
Good thing nobody listens to this.
I know, right? Oh, no. I don't think anybody who listens to this even knows them, so, I don't think there's much
overlap.
Yeah, much overlap there.
It just seems like there's a million stories that could have come out of watching this.
Yeah, it's true.
Just because I
just could have asked him before telling all 5 of the people who have ever listened to this and ever will.
I don't care. I can imagine seeing this opening night in a big theater, full audience.
Oh, that sounds like a fucking nightmare.
Arm to arm with everybody.
You know those people who can't stand the sound of people chewing or something like that? I want to put one of them in the very center of one of these theaters and see how many people die.
I can't believe there hasn't been a story about
somebody getting
something happening, something over the top happening.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, it is slightly surprising. I haven't totally sought it out, so
it just feels like something that would come across naturally. But
yeah, for sure. So was there anything else that you wanted to talk about horror related that you've been Even not horror related, just that you think would be relevant in any way to the podcast. I'm kind of intentionally making this one long. We have three things, and I'm not going to get this episode out tonight. It's too long already, so.
No, not really. Just the same old stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there probably is other horror stuff I've watched, but I don't want to get into it now. We could talk about it later.
Okay.
But no.
Yeah.
I thought about it. No.
Not exactly.
Nah, you all ain't ready.
Y'all ain't ready. Not precisely horror, but I actually did get a chance to watch up to the second episode of the second season of Handmaid's Tale, and I think a lot of people this would appeal to on the same level that horror does. Sam doesn't watch this. But yeah, if you I don't really want to go too far into it because. It's not exactly horror, but if you're into horror and pretty well told stories, Handmaid's Tale. It's a Hulu exclusive. It's very good. It's very good. Anything else? Have you seen anything else? You've been seeing a ton of movies recently.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't need to talk about them really on the podcast. I guess I'll just do a quick one. Yesterday I saw The Hotel Artemis.
All right.
Although not terrible, it's just not terribly great.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a C+, B- area.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw Upgrade, which if you haven't seen that, that's actually pretty awesome. It almost falls into like trappings of like a cliche, a cliche action-y type of movie, but it doesn't. I don't know. I think it's like way good, and I haven't heard a ton of people talk about it. I'd probably give that like a B+. Almost an A if it wasn't for like technical stuff and some of the acting isn't super great. Some of the tone is like weird, but good because of it. Like it's an interesting movie, and it's not what I expected. Even though watching it, you feel like that's what the movie is until you see the whole thing and really take it in. It kind of has like a less like campy, cheesy RoboCop vibe.
Okay.
Kind of like just like ultra violent and like sci-fi-esque. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Do you think that I specifically would enjoy it?
Yeah,
cool.
You would.
All right. I'll bear that in mind when I drag you to the movies one of these days. We're going to the movies for your birthday though, which is coming up though, right?
Yeah.
What is it that we're seeing again?
Hereditary.
Oh, Hereditary.
Which I've heard is good, but I heard that about A Quiet Place, and I was not.
Yeah.
I did not like that very much.
The initial news on Hereditary has been good for me too, but the initial news on that, on Quiet Place was also super positive too. People were raving about it, I felt like, and just, I don't think it hit that level. Yeah, I don't know if there's really too much else that we need to talk about on this one. Well, obviously we have more stuff planned in the future, more movies and more recent movies now that I don't work slave wages, so
afford to go to the theater.
I can afford to go to the movie theater. I'm considering buying a fucking air conditioner too because it is unbearably hot today and it's not only getting worse. So, yeah. The other thing that I kind of wanted to mention, I had kind of alluded to in the last episode, that there's some stuff going on, basically with the different stuff that we have planned, that is less expected than, hey, like they're actually seeing theater movies now. That is something that I'm going to try to fit into, hopefully at least fit some of it into the next episode if possible. We'll see, and then it'll make it abundantly clear. I'm being really vague. I'm vague booking at this point. But yeah, there's some really interesting and I think kind of exciting things in store.
As long as we don't start talking about our personal lives.
Yeah.
Where we talk about what burritos we like to eat, like I see on other podcasts.
Do they do that?
And weird stuff like that.
Is that your super best friends talking about burritos?
A lot of podcasts fall into, like, they're no longer talking about anything that has to do with their podcast subject.
Hey, we do it.
Yeah, and I hate it.
We don't go into burritos generally. Yeah. We have stuff planned. There's still going to be more episodes and stuff like that. Hopefully I'll have more of a chance to like do more stuff. I'm hoping more of these episodes include more movies and are longer, as it happens only once every 2 weeks. It's just not that much harder to do a longer episode like we did today.
Yeah.
And I don't think this length is going to be necessarily usual. I think there's a lot to say about all of these movies that we talked about today, which is why I was kind of hesitant to talk about all of them. But I just wanted to get A Quiet Place out there while we had it. But I didn't want to just talk about A Quiet Place, and you can't talk about either of those two movies without talking about the other one, so...
Yeah.
So it was either 1 or 3, and I went with 3, so... hopefully that'll make up for the fact that this episode is definitely not going to come out on the 13th. Definitely not going to come out on the 13th. It is, again, too hot. I have way too much stuff going into this weekend. Sam's birthday is this weekend. I have to be up at 5 o'clock on...
For my birthday, yes.
For Sam's birthday.
Sure.
No, I have to be up
the whole time.
From 5 in the morning until midnight, at least. But yeah, so there's just a lot of stuff going out on, so I will edit this as soon as I feel I am able to, and not any sooner. I don't want to change the release schedule. I really like the idea of getting it out on the 13th and the 31st, because it's an easy number for me to remember. But I think it's probably more practical to be like, I'll definitely record by then. And then put it out when I can. And again, hopefully the length of the episodes, if people actually listen to this and enjoy it, hopefully that makes up a little bit for my shittiness of being an adult and getting shit out on time. It's hard. Coordinating and motivating and everything is hard in the summertime for me personally. Yeah. Did you have anything else? Did you have anything else that you wanted to talk about? Did you want to talk about your birthday plans?
Mm-mm.
I know you're going to the movies, but we got to do more than just go to the movies one time.
No. I don't know what I'm doing.
It's out of your hands, is what I heard.
It's out of my hands, so why would I talk about it? It's not even real.
Yeah. It's not even real. All right, well, that was our episode today. Thank you so much for listening. I apologize if this feels too long. If it does, actually, I would really like to know whether you think this is like a good length or too much or whatever. Again, bearing in mind that you wouldn't get another episode for 2-ish weeks.
Yeah, but in the same way, you could just edit these into 2 different episodes.
Yeah.
If that's what a better size, like...
Exactly. We could do a recording once per month and do 2 episodes, and that would be totally fine. So let us know, like, if you think this length is too much or perfect, or if you anything like that, any technical stuff like that. Do not try to criticize our opinions of other movies. I don't give a shit.
It's infallible. Our
logic is infallible.
It's infallible. What we say is law.
Yeah, it's law.
Even if we don't agree.
Master Blaster runs Barter Town.
That's fine if we don't agree.
Yeah, we cannot agree with each other.
But you have to agree with us. Both of us.
Both of us simultaneously.
So even if we're saying 2 opposite things, if you don't agree with both of us, just stop listening to the podcast. Sorry.
Yeah, just go. You're not welcome here.
Was that too sincere? He's like, I don't care if you care about my opinion.
No, that's really what I mean. Like, that's really what I mean, is that I don't give a shit, and you can say whatever the hell you want, but I'm not going to care. And I'm not gonna care if
I just wanted to be an asshole.
Right. But I'm legitimately not gonna care. But anything like that, if you think, if there's something that annoys you about the podcast, if there's something that, like, again, lengthwise or whatever, that you have any suggestions about, I'd be more than open to taking those suggestions. And am kind of interested, because this is the first time we've ever been anywhere near this long. Anyway, if you did enjoy this podcast, if you like the shorter ones, there's plenty of those to listen to, so go to the back catalog.
Very short ones. Some of them.
Very, very short
ones. Some of them are very
like
short.
Like 20 minutes? Less?
There's less, I think. I think there's like a 15-minute one.
I think there is. Were we feeling like shit, or was
probably.
the movie?
There's probably just nothing to talk. It was probably a short film that we could only talk.
Only say so much about.
There was like 3 times the length of the movie, so.
Right, exactly. The review is 3 times the length of the movie. Probably. If you did enjoy this, please rate, review, subscribe, whatever it is on whatever site that you found us. The best way that you can help out the show is actually to share it. Apparently with anybody except for Adam, because I stole his story. And
don't tell Adam about it.
Don't tell Adam about it. He knows that I have a podcast. He'll never listen to it, and he'll never get into 102 episodes, so I'm, like, not worried about it, especially 2 hours into it.
But don't tell him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't tell him.
Good. We all agreed.
Don't tell Adam. Yeah, I forgot what I said because I got all scared again.
Yeah, I really worried about it.
Yeah, the best way to to help out the podcast is to share it with anyone but Adam. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, there you go. That's the motto.
That's the motto. That is now officially the motto. I should say that in every episode now. Except for it being kind of creepy. If you would like to share it and the person that you're sharing it with does not have your same platform, or if you don't like the platform that you found us on, we are available on YouTube, Player FM, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addicts, and pretty much any podcatcher out there. I cannot believe I just rattled that off there like I did an episode yesterday. Yeah, I did not. That's not a joke about I recorded one yesterday for something else. No. I really did. Nailed it. And then stuck a landing and then like popped off is what I did.
Popped off, fool.
I popped off.
Dang, you're gonna get fucking chingazo popping off.
Yeah. Oh, and you can interact with us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can also email me at reclusehorror@gmail.com. Again, still no Instagram photos. I gotta put somebody else in charge of that. Kleinman, you're in charge of finding posters for all my movies and putting them on my Instagram. I know, yeah. Don't tell Kleinman either. Don't tell Adam and don't tell Kleinman. Just kind of avoid that whole group. They're wonderful.
There you go.
And I can't have them.
You want them to be
subjected?
Yeah, sorry. Subjected. To this kind of terrible podcast.
I know. They don't deserve it. One of them has their own terrible podcast in the works, though.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I'll listen to it.
Uh-huh. Yeah. You know the name of it. Yeah. I think she's mentioned it.
Talk about it when it's real.
Yeah, we'll talk about it when it's real.
Talk about it when it's real.
Yeah, and I think that's it. What are your ratings for each of these movies?
You didn't give them my contact info.
What's your contact info?
I'm around, Sam. I'll just be around. I'm on the internet. I got it. I got all the accounts. So if you want to drop me a line, just do it.
Yeah. Send nudes too.
Just do it, yeah. Nudes.
Nudes. Ratings.
I didn't come up with any.
All of it. Yeah.
So.
You didn't come up with anything?
No. Like one now and later for Let Me In.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
A bunch more now and laters for Let the Right One In.
Yeah.
Like a ton of now and laters.
Yeah. Shit ton of them.
Yeah.
A pool full of them.
Yeah, a pool full.
A lap pool?
Oh, that pool, yeah. I was gonna say, jungle gym field of now and laters.
Yeah, jungle gym full of them. Okay.
And for A Quiet Place, I give it, I don't know, like 5 beats.
5 beats?
5 beats or bears.
Bears? Beats.
Minus 1 bear.
Battlestar Galactica.
Alright,
okay. Oh, dear. Poor John Krasinski. He spent too long. Looked at the camera too many times.
That'd been sick if he looked at the camera in this. He just shrugs.
Oh, shit. Gives that Jim look
if the monsters break in, he's like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Uh-huh. Alright, I give, my Quiet Place rating is too low to be detected.
Damn.
The volume is too low to be detected. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I just meant value. No, yeah. I'm gonna give it a basement pool. I'm gonna give it 1 basement pool.
Nice.
And then, for Let Me In, I guess it's, I don't know, you took the now and laters.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I swooped them on that quick.
You did. I'm gonna give it 2.5 pounds of fake snow. That's a lot of fake snow. And
fiberglass shards, shredded
fiberglass, and yeah, no, it gets 1 Christmas skirt. That's what it gets. And then I'm gonna give Let the Right One In 1 Adam and Kleinman, 1 Adam and 1 Kleinman. I think that's pretty good. And also 1 our friend that came to the movie with us, whose name I didn't mention, so I will continue not to mention it. She's great too.
I know you're killing everybody's Secret identities.
Secret identities, I know. I'm revealing them right on the podcast. 2 hours in, where nobody will find them.
Okay. Listen to this.
Yeah.
For 2 hours.
I can't wait until 4 years from now. One of the three of them listens to this and is like, "Hey, I heard that episode of your podcast.
2 hour podcast, the Ramble Oncast.
The Ramble Oncast. I listened to your podcast. Oh yeah, what'd you think of it? I saw the Quiet Place episode. Like, oh. Yeah, so I guess that's pretty much it. Did you have anything else? Any final words?
Nah.
Dwight Snoot.
On said
record. On record. On record, he said.
He said on record.
Oh God.
Dwight Wrights.
You know what? I give Quiet Place 1 John Krasinski, goddammit. That's what I give it. Fuck that basement pool. 1 John Krasinski is a human being. I know I said it 85 times, but it bears repeating. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Hey, Sam.
What's up?
Say goodnight.
Good night. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Good Friday.
Good Friday, everybody. I forgot about that.
That's my catchphrase.
That's
my catchphrase.
I gotta make that my fucking ringtone. Oh, man. Alright.
I'm done.
Can't remember what I was gonna say, so. Bye.